First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Hello, Earthlings. How are you? Welcome back from the weekend. My name's Josh Poet. This is First Contact Radio. I'm with you Monday through Friday. It's a 30-minute show, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. live, and then the rest of it you can catch through YouTube, firstcontactradio.com, and other places where the show is posted. So every day I do a half-hour show. I'd like you to participate in the whole half hour because there's kind of a flow of how everything goes. I could very easily break the show up into little chunks, 5-minute chunks here, 5-minute chunks there, but I don't want to do that. Okay? I don't want to do that. I'm from the time and age when people used to sit down to watch a whole show, a half hour or an hour, because of the information that was there, rounded out a whole bit of information that was necessary. And so that's how I present information, okay? Because I believe that this all has a flow together. Now, jumping right into things, today is the 10th day of Cheshvan. It's the 30th day of October 2017 in the Gregorian calendar, 5778 on the Jewish calendar. Astrologically, the sun has progressed now 7 degrees, so we still have 23 more degrees to go, if you want to know how long it's going to be going through this. And the moon has progressed over to Pisces, where it is currently. We can go through the grid, see tomorrow it will be in Pisces, and then if we go to the next day after that, we can see November 1st, we see it's in Aries. So this is a nice little graphic here if you want to just move along and see where things are. So we have Pisces. So what are we dealing with here? Okay, we're dealing with the conscious mind, first of all. Scorpio. It's all about the emotions. This isn't about a physical death. It's about an emotional death. It deals with the emotional realm. Because when our emotions get upset, that really affects everything about our being. If we're able to look past the emotions, we're able to find healing. Now, the reason this is a death-like process and this is associated with this is because there is transformation. And transformation can seem very death-like if it's a very heavy process. And this transformation takes place because of the emotions that have occurred. If you imagine the water washing down of the emotions to clean things off. Now, the Scorpio emotions are those that are buried very deep. And that's why there seems to be this element of the dark associated with it because of how deep they're buried. And when these issues just come to the surface, they just need to have light shine them. They just need to have love and understanding because they're very emotional issues that have been pushed aside and literally buried like a dead body, buried away, and now it's rising to the surface to be dealt with. The unconscious mind currently is in Pisces. Here we have the tarot card of the moon, which indicates a path to be traveled. All of the creatures here indicate the process as we evolve from one form to the next, coming out of the water of life. And then we have the two towers. The two towers represent what we know. The path leading up to them is everything we know, and past the towers is into the great unknown. And once we get into that great unknown, now we have to apply a different set of rules or values, and that's where faith comes in. Because we need to have faith to understand that the path that we walk is still protected, is still guided in the same way as it was when we knew where we were going. We just have to really apply that exercise of faith. That's why faith is a practice. It's not just a stable thing. You have to put faith in practice, faith with works. Faith by itself is faith, and it's great and it's helpful, but we need to put that into practice. We need to put that into practice. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the big stories that are going on today. First and foremost, we have the story about the indictment that has taken place, will be taking place over the course of this day. We got a hint of it on Friday from Mueller when he said there would be an indictment. Now, there's been a lot of talk about what this indictment was, who is going to be involved? Is this somehow Trump related, or is this not Trump related? Because remember, this whole investigation was dealing with Trump collusion with Russia, alleged collusion with Russia. They've been doing this investigation for a long, long, long time. So you think they have some very important information in this regards. Let's see what we've got. Here's the indictment against Paul Manafort and associate Rick Gates. Former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort and his business associate Rick Gates have been indicted in a federal court in 12 counts, including conspiracy to launder money, conspiracy against the United States, and making false and misleading statements. Manafort turned himself into the FBI field office in Washington Monday morning. Here's the important sentence right here. There are no allegations of collusion with Russian operatives in the indictment, which was issued by a grand jury on Friday and unsealed after Manafort's arrest. Manafort, 68, joined the Trump campaign last March as an advisor for the Republican convention. In May, the longtime Republican consultant was promoted to a campaign chairman after he resigned in August after reports his consulting work in Ukraine began to emerge in the press. The charges center on Manafort's and Gates' involvement in alleged money laundering operation utilizing offshore companies. Manafort and Gates, who are partners in the lobbying firm Davis Manafort, are also accused of hiding income from consulting work they did in Ukraine for political party affiliated with Viktor Yanukovych, Ukraine's former president. The indictment says between 2006 and 14, that's anywhere near when President Trump was running for office or even considering running for office. Between these dates, Manafort and Gates failed to disclose lobbying and public relations work they conducted at the direction of Yanukovych and his political party, the Party of Regions. The indictment alleges that Manafort and Gates were in direct contact with Yanukovych as part of the consulting contract. Okay, so very important to understand, one, no collusion, and second, the dates well before President Trump even was running. Further information, FBI probe of Manafort focuses on 13 suspicious wire transfers. The FBI investigation of Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, includes a keen focus on a series of suspicious wire transfers in which offshore companies linked to Manafort moved more than $3 million all over the globe between 2012 and 2013. Much of the money came to the United States. These transactions, which have not been previously reported, drew the attention of federal law enforcement officials as far back as 2012 when they began to examine wire transfers to determine if Manafort hid money from tax authorities or helped Ukrainian regime close to Russia's President Vladimir Putin launder some of the millions it plundered through corrupt dealings. The new revelations come as special counsel Robert Muellen's investigation is tightening, with reports an indictment may already have been issued. Says Manafort has denied doing wrongdoing. Okay, so what we have here so far, as we can see, is a continual reminder that this was a campaign manager for President Trump. Is that true? Yes. But he wasn't with Trump at the time when this occurred. So why isn't it brought up who he was working with at the time when this occurred? Let's take a further look at that. Podesta Group, aha! Podesta Group files new disclosures of Manafort-linked Ukraine lobbying. Lobbying powerhouse the Podesta Group filed paperwork with the Justice Department today acknowledging, this was back from April, acknowledging that it worked years ago for a European nonprofit, benefited the same Ukrainian political party that once advised by Paul Manafort, who later ran Donald Trump's presidential campaign. The filings obtained by Politico appear to clean up the firm's requirements to disclose its role in foreign lobbying that Manafort reportedly orchestrated. The Podesta Group said it believed its client was an unaffiliated European think tank, but the new paperwork suggests the Department of Justice has information tying the think tank to the pro-Russian Ukrainian Party of Regions, a possible source of continuing legal trouble for Manafort because he never disclosed his own role in the lobbying campaign. Okay, and if we want to take a look at what this overall indictment was here today, the grand jury, and here this is United States versus Paul J. Manafort Jr. and Richard Gates III. Okay, the grand jury for the District of Columbia charges at all times relevant to this indictment. Defendants Paul J. Manafort Jr., Manafort, and Richard W. Gates III, Gates, served for years as political consultants and lobbyists. Between 2006 and 2015, Manafort and Gates acted as unregistered agents of the government of Ukraine, the Party of Regions, a political party whose leader, Viktor Yanukovych, was president from 2010 to 2014. Yanukovych and the opposition bloc, a successor to the Party of Regions that formed in 2014 when Yanukovych fled to Russia. Manafort and Gates generated tens of millions of dollars in income as a result of their Ukraine work. In order to hide Ukraine payments from the United States authorities from approximately 2006 through 2016, Manafort and Gates laundered the money through scores of United States and foreign corporations, partnerships, and bank accounts. In furtherance of the scheme, Manafort and Gates funneled millions of dollars in payments into foreign nominee committees and bank accounts opened by them and their accomplices in nominee and various foreign countries, including Cyprus, St. Vincent, and the Grenades and the Seychelles. Manafort and Gates hid the existence of the foreign companies and bank accounts, falsely and repeatedly reporting to their tax preparers and the United States that they had no foreign bank accounts. And in furtherance of the scheme, Manafort and Gates concealed from the United States that their work as agents of and millions of dollars in payments from Ukraine and its political parties and leaders, because Manafort's Gates, among other things, directed a campaign to lobby United States officials on behalf of the government of Ukraine, the president of Ukraine, and Ukrainian political parties. They were acquitted by law to report to the United States their work and fees. Manafort and Gates did not do so. Instead, when the Department of Justice sent inquiries to Manafort and Gates in 2016 about their activities, Manafort and Gates responded with a series of false and misleading statements. Okay, so there's more to this. It's an 11-page document for you to read. No collusion. Okay, no collusion. President Trump is tweeting that out today. There's no collusion. This was about a time when Manafort was engaged with the Podesta company. John Podesta. John Podesta is linked to the DNC as their campaign manager. There's a whole lot of problems with what's going on here. But none of this is connected to Trump other than the fact that Manafort, after he had been involved with these things, worked for Trump for a short period of time before he was then released. Okay, so we'll see how this story unfolds. But they've been going after President Trump for close to a year now, this witch hunt investigation, and the best that they've been able to come up with is a individual who years before President Trump decided to run for office was engaged in money laundering with someone from the DNC. That's the best they've come up with. Yeah, that is the best they've come up with. All right, there's another case going on as well. Want to make sure you're aware of that. Here's the court filings from this one. This is a court filing case between Mikhail FRIDMAN, Peter Avon, and German Khan. And this is all against Fusion GPS, being LLC, aka Fusion GPS, and Glenn Simpson. This is a defamation case brought by three international businessmen who were defamed in a widely disseminated political opposition research paper commissioned by political opponents of candidate Donald Trump. The reports, which came to be known as the Trump Dossier and the Dossier, were published in advance of the 2016 presidential election by the defendants, the Washington, D.C.-based firm Fusion GPS and its principal Glenn Simpson, a former journalist specializing in political opposition research. In that role, the defendants traffic in procuring damaging information about political candidates. The reports are gravely damaging in that they falsely accuse the plaintiffs, and Alpha is a consortium in which the plaintiffs are investors, of criminal conduct and alleged cooperation with the Kremlin to influence the 2016 presidential election. But neither the plaintiffs nor Alpha committed any of the acts irresponsibly attributed to them by the defendants. To the contrary, the plaintiffs and Alpha are collateral damage to a U.S. political operation conducted by the defendants that has nothing to do with the plaintiffs. Okay, so we've got a fraudulent dossier created by Fusion GPS, and in the process, these international businessmen were caught up because they were defamed in this document. So now they are suing. This is very important because this document, which is shown to be fraudulent, was paid for by the DNC. Yes, it was at first paid for by members of the RNC. It's being discovered who they were. A guy named Paul Singer. He's connected to Paul Ryan. I believe he has connections to other Republicans as well. Anyway, this this incident has occurred, and now we are at a point in time where we are learning that this document that was falsified has been the basis of this entire investigation. This witch hunt into Donald Trump's collusion with Russia, which hasn't turned up any collusion with Russia, has simply shown that prior to Donald Trump entering the election, as many as 3 years prior to that, Paul Manafort was engaged in tax evasion with a member of his staff and possibly with members of the DNC. Okay, that's the issue that's going on. They're going to try to spin it all sorts of ways, but that's the reality. Another story that we need to kind of keep our eyes and ears open for is this November 4th date. November 4th is a date coming up this Saturday, and it's a date when members of the group Antifa, or Antifa, because if you look at some of the pictures of these pansies in the Antifa group, sometimes you'll see them when their dresses blow up and these supposed men are wearing panties. Yes, I kid you not. Pink frilly panties on these tough activists that are out there. They're not really that tough. They talk a big game, but we need to pay attention to what they're talking about because they're talking about creating violence. Okay, they're talking about creating violence. Now, this may be a situation where they go out and try to create violence because they are young, idiotic kids who are caught up in the fascination of wanting to be like Hitler and the brown shirts. So they're out there thinking that they are the heroes of society when in actuality, they are the actual enemies. They have become what they claim that they hate. So Antifa is going to be active this weekend, supposedly, in cities across the country, wanting to start some sort of revolution, a violent revolution with the idea to take down Donald Trump. And I'm guessing that the media knows about this. I've heard of stories from like the complex in Hollywood and Highland getting warnings that they shouldn't be in the building on the 4th because windows are going to be knocked out and the place is going to be burned. I've heard of flyers being passed up and down Hollywood Boulevard at other locations around the Hollywood Highland complex. I've seen flyers out there that say, you know, the objective is to kill everyone that supports Trump, on and on and on and on and on. I'm guessing the police know, the Department of Justice know. If not, hello, Mr. Sessions. We've got a situation that needs your attention, so we hope you are paying attention. We certainly know President Trump is. We hope you are as well. Here's a couple articles, very important, because not only is there going to be the Antifa activity this weekend, but there's also going to be a huge blackout drill. DOD plans solar storm-based national blackout drill during the Antifa protest in November. According to the National Association for Amateur Radio, elements of the U.S. Department of Defense will stimulate a communications interoperability training exercise across the United States November 4th through 6th. The announcement released on October 24th has not been widely distributed by the media because the drill is simulating a total grid collapse and could spark public fear. This exercise will begin with a national mass coronal ejection event, which will impact the national grid as well as all forms of traditional communication, including landline, telephone, cell phone, satellite, and internet connectivity. In July, we warned about the U.S. government quietly preparing for a massive coronal ejection with the passage of an executive order and the efforts to prepare the nation for space weather events. Okay, here's another article on that same issue. U.S. Department of Defense plans solar storm-based national blackout drill during Antifa protests in November. According to the National Association for Amateur Radio, the announcement has not been widely distributed. Okay, so two articles on the same subject. We have been familiar with drills in the past. This is another one of those. We've got a lot going on this weekend, a lot of stuff this week leading up to that. Let's pay attention, okay? Pay attention. Very, very important that we pay attention. All right, I want to play for you a little portion of this clip here. This is from the airport control tower. I'm playing just a few moments of this. Here we go. Okay, so there you go. 7 different people reported by the control tower there as being on the runway. But what we're still told that it was a lone gunman. Here's another example of posts people are putting about multiple shooters. I was leaving LMPD, shoot the person next to the white car in front of the Hooters. I took a picture as they were putting the blanket to cover up this person. Here you can see talks about multiple shooters here. Certainly something going on more than meets the eye. Now, one of the big issues that's going on that is not getting any media attention at all from the mainstream is the fact that those who have been witnesses seem to end up dead or are missing. So, very important piece of the puzzle. 4 key Las Vegas shooting witnesses are now dead or missing. And they all have one thing in common. Their version of events contradicts the official narrative. Are they being silenced to stop the truth coming out? Kimberly Suckamel, one of the key witnesses of the devastating Las Vegas shooting attack, which left 58 people dead and more than 500 wounded, has been found dead in her home at the age of 28. The cause of her death has yet to be confirmed. Kimberly was one of the lucky attendees on the Route 91 musical festival in Las Vegas who managed to escape the hail of bullets without being injured. Shortly after fleeing the scene with friends, she made a statement to mainstream media claiming that there were multiple gunmen firing weapons into the crowd and that she was chased by one such man. When she was questioned by the veracity of her story, given the official story there was only one gunman, she said that she was more than 100% sure she was right. Kimberly gave a very detailed account of what she had seen in the days following the horrific event, in which she questioned the official narrative being pushed relentlessly by the mainstream media, despite the fact that it doesn't make any sense. Writing on Facebook, Kimberly said that she's been watching the news with her family constantly since she's arrived home. She said the official narrative contained blatant lies and expressed frustration about mainstream media silencing the voice of the survivors. More information about Kimberly can be found. There's a link here. A disturbing turn of events emerged that Kimberly is not the only key witness to have died in the Las Vegas shooting. John Bailman was wanted by federal agents following discovery of a communication device in the hotel room of the officially identified shooter. Stephen Paddock killed both himself and his disabled daughter in apparent murder-suicide. Chad Nishimura, a Mandalay Bay valet who parked Paddock's car when he arrived at the hotel, has also disappeared without a trace after giving a statement to a Hawaiian mainstream news network after his brush with the killer. Nishimura directly contracted the official narrative by claiming that Paddock arrived at the hotel with not many bags, certainly nowhere near enough to hold the amount of weapons and ammunition that was found. Third, it has been revealed that the hero security guard Jesus Campos has also gone missing. 15 minutes before his scheduled appearance on Fox News, he made his first media interview since the shooting. He supposedly ran away. He wasn't heard until he ended up on the Ellen Show, and now we're hearing that he has left the country. So lots of discrepancy going on out there in Las Vegas in the shooting. Again, what we really do understand is that there were multiple shooters. There were multiple events taking place. Stephen Paddock may have been an operative with the FBI or the CIA. This could have been a gun-running operation that went extremely bad. It's quite possible there were black ops that were out there in Vegas on the course of that event that was happening, and there's even rumors of an extraction of a very high-level profile VIP being taken out of Vegas, perhaps maybe coming out of Area 51, because it seems that the area of the airport that the shooting was going on was in the Janet Terminal area, allegedly in the Janet Terminal area. That is something that has been discussed. So much more going on right there. So something for us to pay attention to. I think one other story I didn't bring up, but I'll bring it up tomorrow. Kevin Spacey, as you may have heard, has been called out for trying to molest a 14-year-old boy years ago. His response was he doesn't remember the incident. It was probably a drunken thing. But hey, he's gay now, so apparently it's okay. And the mainstream media has decided that they're going to follow with that story because apparently his deciding that he was gay makes it okay that he tried to molest a 14-year-old boy. It's very weird how Hollywood wants to try to spin things, but we know the hypocrites they are. We're aware of the Harvey Weinstein story and how many people knew about what was going on, yet continued to do business with him or even turn a blind eye to the situation. So we'll see what happens. The bottom line is there's a lot of swamp creatures being drained from the swamp, a lot of them over this period of time, whether it's political, whether it's in the world of sports, whether it's in the world of media, whether it's in the world of Hollywood. Swamp creatures are being drained out. We just need to trust the process. You know, no one said this was going to be smooth the entire time. When you're trying to drain the swamp to get rid of the bad things that are out there, things are going to fight against you. Sometimes when you try to drain something or stop something, it rebels even more. You notice when the light gets shined upon the darkness, that more creatures jump out of the swamp. You didn't realize that they were there, and suddenly they pop out. And then when we start to see all these stories, we start to see the connections. You know, you've got the connections, this dossier, the fake dossier. Someone put money into this fake dossier to help them, and the guy doing so in the Republican Party is connected to Paul Ryan, who we know is a snake that is taking money in some way from George Soros, along with others like McCain and Lindsey Graham. You see all these pieces tying together. It's a big, big swamp. President Trump really is doing a great job. We just need to continue to believe in the process that is taking place. And finally, to close things up today, Joshua 1, verses 1 through 9. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all of these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give to them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, from the great river the Euphrates and all the Hittite country, to all the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Wherever we go. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, we thank you for the blessings of this day. May our eyes be open to understand the path that you have before us. May we be courageous as we stand against the darkness, and may we be ever more faithful as we shine this light into the world to assist in this process of change taking place. Amen. That's it, my friends. Let's go into the world today. Let's make it a great day. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones who can make the difference, because we, the people, have the power. All we have to do is believe in ourselves and believe in our ability to make a change. And when we gather together in that belief, nothing will stop us. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have yourselves an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.